I'm bothered by one thing, and that is, so you have these action loops that form these structures, and one of the things is that they can't pass through each other, and that's how they reach their stability. All right, so now we've got a universe of all these action loops bumping into each other. Now wait a minute.
No.
There must be these loops must be filling space all over the place, and yet our spacecraft go through it, sail through it with no difficulty. And I guess I'm wondering, if I've got two of these loops, can they cross or not?
Yeah.
Can they cross or not out in space? These loops. Now, maybe.
Now, remember I said that this knot can roll along here,
yeah,
unimpeded, and I can have another knot and I can roll it right through that one.
Yeah.
That's what's going on with
It's
energy.
transparent. Everything's transparent.
Energy is completely transparent.
Transparent.
The question is, how does it knot itself
That's a
in
big
whole locality?
I think
That's the question you're asking.
Yeah, I know, but when you say it's transparent, in its initial stage, but as it moves through that's why I think it's important to answer his question, to understand the actual geometry of what that individual segment is. Because then you can see where the intersections of where they come in together and start to weave another structure, a bigger structure. But as it moves through space and finds see, I look at light as like a sperm, and in its sperm form, it's moving through the whole ether and looking for an egg. They call it like a Mother Earth. That's why they call it Mother Earth, because when the light hits that Earth, then the atmosphere of that Earth starts to collect around that what was clear, unseeable, invisible electromagnetic field spinning at a rapid rate of speed, starts to attach itself to the individual rays of light, and now it becomes more opaque until it becomes rock or diamond, which now has done another thing to it, or water or air or me or you. That's where I'm trying to go with that process.
Right.
And I see what it's doing, and I asked you about how does it interact, and that's proprietary, which I can appreciate. But without that connection, it's very difficult for me to see, since I've been working in strictly the intersecting of light and how it creates the structure, to see how it has a synergistic, that connection of one to the other, for me is absolutely required.
It is, I'm having to show one state, and then there's a big gap, and then there's the resultant state. But I can't show you with these models, because this is not an actual natural scalable event at this point. But what I've been working on is actually doing this at a scale that we can actually see, and that would be all encompassed in producing a macro atom.
I would be, you were alluding to some of the work that I had done. Well, how do you see the relativity of the two, of our work?
Well, I need to see more of your work, and I have a lot more questions I want to hopefully we can get to tonight when we go over the.
You know, the question of the difficulty that Glenn presents, when you have a superstructure, whatever scale, and you say how it interacts with the elementary structures, or even with the unformed loops, the interaction is not mechanical, it's constitutive. It's like a water wave and the sea. Does the sea collides with the wave. No, the wave is made of the sea. There's no point in saying that there's friction between the wave and the sea. There's the wave, the sea is the constitution of the wave. So all these loops are the constitution of the particles, of the atoms, or whatever scale you want to. So there's no conflict, there's no mechanical collision or even separation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so these little loops here don't really exist.
No, the first loop is the electron. The first stable loop is the electron, period. That's what you said.
Right.
I think it's the photon, but you use the photon to create the electron.
Well, the
which is
photon,
beautiful.
let me qualify that then. The photon is a eternally existing entity, but it's a speed of light entity. And by the electron is the first instance that light can stay, have a rest state, and not have to be moving at the speed of light. And the neutrino is also a speed of light particle.
Is it?
And it's yeah, it is. And it's not known in any other circumstance, but as a speed of light particle. And now, so what is a what is a neutrino? Neutrino is the intermediate step, crucial intermediate step between this form, this is three loops that have been bent into proximity, but they haven't been knotted. This is not a knot. Because if I snip these little retainer things, it flops apart. But when three of these interact, this is formed. And here you see that I don't need the rings again. But if this form is three light waves, then this is going to be also three light waves, but they have interacted together. So it takes on the form of a particle, but it's a speed of light particle. And only recently have they decided, well, it does have some nominal mass to it, which is saying it has a nominal spatial event. And to me, creating a spatial event is paramount to producing mass, that you can't have a mass that doesn't occupy space, or in a sense.
So that individual ray of light would have to have mass, since we're...
When it interacts...
No, before it interacts.
Well,
otherwise we're saying out of nothing is coming something.
Well, because E equals MC squared, you got to say that this has mass. Even though the mass
started with a part that might have been very thin, it had mass.
Yeah. I think it does have nominal mass, even light. But it doesn't occupy space until it produces this form. Yes?
If these are spinning particles, the loops are spinning particles, which they are on some of them, that you have are supposed to represent the.
Yeah.
Is it then the case that the particle goes fast enough to keep the thing from falling apart?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it interacts with itself at that speed to create. It's almost like a holograph. It's moving so fast that it's creating a phenomena in the center that is always there, whereas out here it's moving around, but the interaction creates the event, the holographic image in the middle that stays. Now this, if three of these interact, that's when you get this.
Which is?
And I'm looking at this thing being if you could look into this tube, you would see that that's the form, that's the particle form. That's now, it's a fractal up to this level. Each one of these are a fractal development of the other, although they're not scaled in these models.
What is that? Is it neutron?
This would be electron.
Electron.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
that's in a
this
model of
this
what you call
would
an
be
electron.
the proton in the center here, surrounded by an electron.
Well, that's an atom.
That's an atom. This is hydrogen.
So where's the neutron?
Where's the neutron?
Neutron,
I haven't modeled the neutron.